my friends. Welcome to this bonus episode of Running for Real. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you are listening to this episode, chances are you have subscribed, in which case, thank you. You are one of my favorites. I really appreciate you subscribing. By subscribing to this podcast, you are showing everyone at iTunes, well, maybe not everyone, but you know what I mean. You're showing the people who are important at iTunes that you appreciate my podcast, you enjoy it, and hopefully they will then push me up the list to the shows they are promoting and kind of helping get out there. So thank you so much for subscribing, if that is you. Today is a special day. I am 30 today. Well, I'm not 30 today. I'm recording this a few weeks early because I'm actually heading to England on Monday when I'm recording this. But when you are listening to this, it will be my 30th birthday. So weird to think about being 30. You know, I remember being a kid and thinking about, well, 20 seemed really old, didn't it, as a kid? But 30, you know, even as a teenager, 30 seemed like, well, your life was pretty much over. So it's weird thinking that I'm 30 and it doesn't really feel like that different. It doesn't feel quite, to me, as scary as it was. I feel like I have accomplished a lot and I'm proud of what I've done. And we'll see what the day brings, I guess. I'm excited for today. Did have a trip home and got back a few days ago. So I don't actually know what I'm doing on this day right now. But one thing I do know is I have a week of giveaways starting today for you guys as a little celebration. And I will be giving you a bit more information on that in just a second. But before I get to that and give you an update on how things are going, may I ask you a favor? As it is my birthday today, would you mind giving me a little birthday gift? I would appreciate it so much if you have not already left me a rating and review on iTunes. If you could hop on over to do that, leave me a rating and review on iTunes for the Running for Real podcast, I would be so grateful. Thank you so much. I'm really trying to get my ratings up. I do not that my ratings are down low, but I just mean I'm trying to get the numbers up. Those really help the most. And I do read each and every one. So thank you so much to anyone who does go ahead and do that. Thank you to anyone who has already done that. But if you could do that for me as a birthday gift, and or if you could share this podcast, maybe not this episode, for someone new, this might not be a good episode to start with. Share an episode that you have enjoyed with your family, friends, with your running communities. If it is an older one, that's absolutely fine. That brings it back up into the eyes of the big podcast monsters, the big podcast honchos. So if you can share those too, that's fine. But the rating and review on iTunes would go such a long way. Thank you so much in advance. Right, we are going to take a moment to thank Body Health for sponsoring this episode, and then I will tell you all about my giveaway. Thank you to Body Health for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast. Perfect Amino has been supporting me in my training for years now, and I need it even more now I'm trying to get back into running. I forgot how sore you get when you start running again, but at least I know I have something in my corner to help me recover. Remember, coupon code TINA10 will get you 10% off at bodyhealth.com. All right, guys. So I have told you that this is going to be an update episode. As it is my 30th birthday, you're going to get a bit of an update from me. I thought I would do this on a bonus episode rather than a regular episode, as I do have so many good episodes recorded for you. I didn't want to take up the space of one of my guests. And I thought, why not release this on the day? You know, this is the day I want you guys to check out these giveaways. So this seemed like the perfect day to do it. So every day on Instagram, where you can follow me at TinaMuir88, as in the number 88. Sometimes when I say that to people, they think I'm saying ATA, as in the letters, but I am saying the numbers. So my name, in case you do not know it, as my accent may have confused you, is TinaMuir88, and that's what it is on Instagram. You can also find the giveaways on Facebook, on my Facebook page, not my personal page. I get a lot of friend requests on there, but I actually do not accept anyone on there. I keep that strictly for, you know, family and friends who don't know me for Running for Real. They don't know my running. They don't care really about my running, just for kind of keeping a communication, you know, or high school friends, people, family and friends like that. So don't go find me there. Go to facebook.com/realtina Tina Muir. That is where you will find the giveaways. And I will also be sharing them on the Running for Real Facebook page if you prefer that. And I will be mentioning them in the Superstars community, which you can find at tinamuir.com/superstars. If you aren't already in Superstars, go to it. Why have you not joined me yet? But anyway, who am I going to be doing a giveaway from? I have rounded up a good selection of companies who I know, trust, and love their products. And I think you are going to love them too if you have not already. Now, each of these giveaways will only be open for one day. So keep that in mind. You can enter a new one every day, but you will only have that day to enter because I will do the drawing the following morning. And anyone that misses out that day, I'm sorry, too late kind of thing. It's just on each day. I will be going by Eastern time, just for those of you who are in other places. So keep that in mind. It will be midnight Eastern time. Each evening, the drawing will finish, and you can find out what the entry standards are on the post for each day. So the companies that I have got involved are CTM Band by my good friend Carl Bowling. That is for recovery, and it's the first recovery tool that incorporates compression, tension, and movement. So it's got these golf ball kind of things along it, which you can put into tricky spots like on your calves, on your glutes, any muscles that are bothering you really. And then you will wrap it around so it's really tight. It gives you that compression, and then you move it for a range of motion. Absolutely love it. Really genius product by my friend Carl Bowling. And that will be in the giveaway. Body Health, you know Body Health very well. They are the sponsor of this episode. Perfect Amino, they will be giving away a lot, so make sure you go check that one out. Koala Clip, someone can win a gift card to win their own Koala Clip. So you will be able to enter to win that. That is a nice clip that you can put your phone into. It's sweat-proof, waterproof, and it will clip onto the back of your sports bra or on your waistband if you're a guy. And it works really well. Run Gum is involved, so that's caffeinated gum. Many of you are big fans of Run Gum. You can enter to win that as well. Bombas are giving away a gift card to purchase some of their socks. Bombas are my favorite socks, and what's even better about them is every pair you buy, they give a pair to a homeless shelter, which I absolutely love. That's so thoughtful, and I love companies that do stuff like that. Inside Tracker is going to be involved. Those of you who know, Inside Tracker do blood work and kind of will assess your blood work, giving you suggestions. Love Inside Tracker. Generation UCAN are involved. As you know, that is my favorite fuel for marathons, but I also use their bars for my daily nutrition before a workout. Hoka One One are also joining in the giveaway here, giving away a pair of shoes for one lucky winner. And the best one of all, well, maybe not, but Running for Real, I am also going to be giving away some stuff, some of my products, which I am excited to hear what you think. And that will be the final giveaway. So just actually thinking about it, I should have said this at the beginning, but each of these companies, well, most of them do have a coupon code for Running for Real fans, and I'll just mention each of those. So CTM Band, it is Running for Real. Most of these are going to be Running for Real with the number 4. So Running for number 4, Real, Running for Real. So CTM Band is Running for Real. That will get you $10 off. Body Health, the code is MUIR10, MUIR10. That will get you 10% off. Running for Real, again with the number 4. For Koala Clip, I think that gets you 10% off. Run Gum, I do not have a code for. Bombas, if you use code Running for Real, again the number 4, that will get you 20% off your first order. Inside Tracker, if you use the code Tina Muir, that will give you 10% off. Generation UCAN, using code Running for Real, number 4 will get you 15% off. Hoka One One are giving away a free pair of shoes, as I mentioned earlier. They, if you use code Running for Real, again the number 4, you can get free expedited shipping. And finally, I do not have a coupon code for myself for my products, but I will tell you more about those in a few minutes. All right, so let's give a bit of an update on how things are going with me. The last time I gave you an update was in March. However, you hopefully have been following me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, or wherever else. But I also have launched in the last few months a second podcast, a daily podcast called Tina for Real. Now, as you know, I am very honest and open with pretty much everything that I do. And I intentionally do that to kind of show the transparency, to make you feel like you're not alone. You know, that is the whole concept behind Running for Real, is just showing us that we're all out there together struggling. It's all about being real, which is actually quite trendy right now, which I love that we were kind of ahead of the curve, or maybe just on the wave. I don't know. But yeah, so the last update was in March, but this Tina for Real episode podcast, you can listen to every day. It comes out 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And I just give a 5 to 15 minute episode on various things. So Monday tends to be something we struggle with mentally as a runner. So that tends to be a focus on mental health. Tuesdays tends to be a update on Bailey, something funny that's happened, something interesting that's happened, something I've noticed as a mother. Wednesday is an update for my training. Thursday is a training tip, something that you can use in your training. And Friday is Ask Me Anything. So you can literally submit a question, whatever you want, obviously within reason, and I will answer that question, which is actually quite a lot of fun for me to do that. So if you've not checked out Tina for Real, you can find that through your regular podcast player, or you can also find it at Anchor. So that's the anchor is in the weight. So anchor.fm/Tina for Real, and you will find it there. You can also find it all over the place by just Googling. It's probably the easiest thing, isn't it? We always spell out these website addresses, but at the end of the day, most of us are just going to Google things. So check out Tina for Real if you have not. So Bailey is now 6 months old. Crazy to think she's over half a year old already. But at the same time, I really feel like I've appreciated the time. I'm quite proud of myself for making the most of this opportunity for her being young. I do feel like the time has flown by, but I feel like I know where it's gone, if that makes sense. You know, sometimes when you are not making the most of your time, if you're distracted or something else is going on, you say time flies and you kind of think, where did all that time go? It just went too quickly. Whereas I don't feel like that's been the case, because I really have made the most of being there with her for every moment, which is good. And I'm proud of myself for doing that. So her personality, as you can imagine, is beginning to absolutely shine through. She is stubborn, like her mother, and when she wants something, she wants it. When she doesn't want it, she doesn't want it, which is good to know. You know, things like the dummy, as I call it, the pacifier. If she wants it, she is going to whine until she gets it, but then when she's done with it, she'll just take it out. So it's kind of nice that she knows what she wants. And I hope she kind of takes that into the rest of her life, that she's a go-getter and she will go get what she wants, but also not be too, you know, put off by things that go wrong in her way. So I'm hoping that makes her a little bit feisty and someone who isn't afraid to go get her goals. She loves to laugh. She loves to giggle at like the silliest things. You know, it's funny when you're a mother, you learn all these strange, you don't learn them, they just come out of your mouth. All these strange noises and things that you do that I guess were like waiting there in hibernation. You didn't know they existed. And then suddenly you're making this strange noise and it's making them laugh. So you're making it again and again, even though, you know, some of these noises really hurt my throat and they really make me, well, obviously look pretty stupid, but I don't really care about that. But they just are very strange noises, but I can't help but make them because they make her laugh. And if she's laughing and smiling, it's so worth it in every way. So all these years, I've noticed that my mum, when I was growing up, made these funny noises just walking around the house, and I loved her. And me and my sister always just like commented on my mum making these random noises. And now I find myself making them. So I've kind of, you know, had them in hibernation this whole time, and now they're coming out. Bailey is just such a little sweetheart. Everyone we walk past stops to stare at her. She has the most beautiful blue eyes, those eyes that are like pools. And every single person we see comments on her eyes and says that she looks like a little doll. And I think she does. She is just the cutest little thing. Has the chubbiest cheeks, you know, those kind of cheeks that you want to squish. And she definitely does get a lot of attention for that. The only downside of that is what Steve and I call neck cheese. I don't know where that phrase came from, but that's what we've decided to call it, which is, as she does have quite chubby cheeks, she gets like rolls of fat under her neck. And as you can imagine, stuff gets stuck in there. When she was spitting up a lot at the beginning, A lot of that milk she would spit up would run down her neck and stay there. And when you would go to clean it out later that day, it would smell really bad. So we do have to watch that. And she doesn't like us cleaning it. So we have to be careful with that. We've decided to call it neck cheese. I'm not sure why. It's kind of gross, but that's just where we've decided to sit with it. What else have I got to share about Bailey herself? She loves textures, which is, I'm sure, pretty common for babies of this age. Just anything that she can scratch with her nails or just like touching different textures. One day when we were driving her a long way, we took her into Costco and put her on this pillow that was really fluffy, but also kind of ragged. And she just thought it was the best thing there ever was. So she's really loving textures. She also has play dates now. I have a friend in town who I meet up with who has a baby whose baby's name coincidentally is Grace. And on that note, this friend of mine, I'm not kidding with this. When I first met her, I said to her, "Oh, guess what Bailey's middle name is? It's Grace." And she said, "Oh, that's funny. Last week I met another woman whose daughter was called Bailey Grace." And I was like, "Excuse me? Like, how is there another Bailey Grace?" I thought I was choosing a very unique name there, but apparently not. Okay, what else? I am doing cloth diapers, which, yes, maybe seems a little bit intimidating to some people. I've had a lot of comments and questions about it, but I'm telling you, cloth diapers are not as scary and not as complicated as people think they are. I'm really glad that we're doing it. I am doing it primarily for environmental reasons. It really bothers me the amount of diapers that go into the trash and landfills, and especially as they don't break down. So for me, the primary reason was environmental, and I like knowing that, yes, I'm using a little bit more water, but I'm not contributing to the waste situation. To be honest with you guys, I have a real belief that the movie WALL-E is coming true. I really think in the future that is how we're going to end up. For those of you who've seen the movie WALL-E, if not, go watch it. And I'm saying WALL-E as in WALLE, not Wally as in you're a Wally. People in England will know what that means. And I really believe that's becoming the case. So I'm really paranoid about waste, and I really want to limit my waste. And so that was my reason for doing it. But it's really not that bad. Yes, you have to put your hands like in their poop, which, sorry for those of you who aren't parents, I'm going to want to hear about that. But if you are planning on becoming parents, you end up talking about poop a lot. But you're already touching the poop anyway when you change their diapers. So for me, it just really isn't that big of a difference to wash it. So I really haven't found it that bad. I do have a Tina For Real episode on cloth diapers if you are interested. And if there's enough questions about it, I might even do a blog post about it at some point. What else with Bailey? She is definitely a morning person, which I think is pretty typical for I don't want to say newer babies, for babies around her age. She wakes up in the best mood, just giggling and smiling. Sometimes she'll wake up at 5 a.m. and just babble and giggle and laugh to herself and then fall back asleep for another hour or so, which is so cute. But also annoying, you're kind of waking up, you're woken up by them and you're like, "Oh, I'm tired." But at the same time, you want to listen to that noise. So it's just such a strange feeling. And on that note, it's funny when you put them down for a nap or you put them down for bed, you have this weird thing where when they're awake and they're tired and they're cranky, you're like, "Just go down, please. I just want to put you down." But then the second you put them down and they're asleep and they're so peaceful, you kind of miss them and you want them to wake up. So it's a very strange sensation. And especially in the mornings, that's how I feel. On that note, it has completely cured my insomnia, or for now, I'm hoping it sticks. I used to have really bad insomnia before I had Bailey, and now I'm able to sleep a lot better. Not sure where that is. We have not moved her to her own bedroom yet at home, so we will see. I'll be doing that actually around this time this comes out. We'll see how my insomnia goes then, but for now, it's actually meaning that I'm sleeping a lot better. We're going to bed around when she does, around 9:30 in the evenings, and she's sleeping all the way through till 7. So I realize I have a very, very good sleeper. I am very lucky. She has been a long sleeper from pretty early on. And honestly, you guys, those of you who are planning on becoming parents, I think there's two things that contribute to that. One is getting a solid bedtime routine going, sticking to it. And the second is a docatot, or sleepyhead as it's called in Europe. But that thing, I'm telling you, is a miracle maker. Of every product I have got for Bailey, I would say the docatot is my number one. If you were going to buy anything, yes, I realize it's expensive, but it's so worth it. So that's my big recommendation. I just want to apologize for a second here that my voice may be going funny. I may be taking random pauses. I don't know why, but whenever I record these longer episodes, my throat gets so dry and I get a tickle in my throat. I have to keep stopping to drink water or it just gets worse and worse. So I do apologize if you are hearing a lot of crackling in my throat. If I'm saying at random times, it's when I'm trying to swallow so that it doesn't tickle my throat. So sorry about that. It is doing it quite a lot right now. I'm not really sure what the deal is, why it would be doing that. Probably just dry, but still water doesn't really seem to help that much. What else with Bailey? Oh, I mentioned earlier about her having play dates with another girl named Grace, which is great and it's really cute to watch. But I've realized how passive Bailey actually is. It's quite funny to watch. She will actually just sit there and observe. So whenever Grace comes over, Grace is playing and doing things and rolling and, just all over the place, whether it's at our house or at Heather's house. But but Bailey just sits and watches, just observing. It is the cutest thing. She just sits there, sits up with her hands on her knees and just watches for half an hour, 45 minutes sometimes. So it's quite cute. She loves bath time. She loves swimming. She loves just looking at things. That's just a typical baby thing, I guess. It's amazing how they can pick up something like, I don't know, like a washcloth and they can just stare at it for like 15 minutes in wonder. So it's amazing when you look at things through a baby's eyes of how interesting things can be, or like looking at the leaves blowing on the tree. They just really observe that, and Bailey in particular loves the wind and loves looking at the leaves. We have just started her on solids, which is very exciting as of this recording. We have tried broccoli, carrots, cucumber, avocado and sweet potato. She seems to like them all. Particularly avocado and sweet potato seem to be her favorites so far. And so I'm doing something a little bit different. It's quite common in England. My sister did it and loved it, but it's called in England baby-led weaning, which I know is a bit confusing for Americans listening. So over here I know it's called baby-led feeding, which is where you don't give them purees at all, or you try not to. And instead, you just give them whole pieces of food, very soft, and obviously start with things like vegetables and kind of build up to things that they actually do have to chew. But it teaches them to chew and swallow and then gag if they swallow something too big so that they don't end up choking. My sister did it. My niece's dexterity is incredible. I think that's mostly down to that. And it really taught her very early on how not to choke. So I really think that is the way we want to stick to it. And I don't really like the idea of purees, to be honest. I would be happy making them myself, but I feel the whole purpose behind baby-led weaning or baby-led feeding is that you end up just giving them what you are eating. So right now we're just giving her one food every 3 days to just see how she handles each of it. But the whole point becomes that you just give them a little piece of whatever you're having. And as Steve and I tend to eat most of our meals very clean, we kind of figured it was a good thing to do. And when I say clean, I mean, we might have a piece of salmon, a sweet potato, and some green beans. So each of those we could give a little bit of to her. And so we really like the idea of doing that. I am happy to give more information if anyone is interested in that. But so far it's going quite well. What else have I got to talk about for Bailey? Hates being put down for naps. She's a good sleeper at night, but always wants to be involved with everything. So we really struggle to get her down for naps. You lie her down and she starts kicking her feet and trying to play a bit more. And it's very interesting to see. A final thing I want to say about Bailey herself is I've said at the beginning that I pride myself on being real. I pride myself on kind of saying things for how they are. But when it comes to her, I am keeping a level of privacy for her. I'm not sharing all the struggles in a way that I usually would. I'm not sharing things that she does for us, but like to annoy us as much. I might give you a few in a little while, but I really, don't know if she's going to be someone that wants to live her life in the media. Particularly, many of you know that Steve is not a very public, living his life public kind of person, very reserved, and doesn't feel the need to share everything. So I don't know if she's going to be like that, and I don't want to put her in an awkward position. So for me, I have decided that I'm going to share, the good things, but anything that could embarrass her, I'm going to hold off until I know that she is okay, which, could be quite a long time. But I will give, snippets of things. But as much as I wanted to become a role model for women who could say that, this is annoying about the baby or that's annoying, I just can't do it to her. So I will say things that are going wrong with me, but not so much to her. I just wanted to mention that here. As I mentioned, we are have just been to England, which was exciting to take her home. We also did do a trip back to Steve's family in Michigan. She did really well on the drive. Don't know how she did on the flight as of this recording, but hopefully really well. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Bailey. When it comes to my running, last time I talked to you, I think I was running. Yeah, I must have been. And it started going really well. I was not in shape. I had some wake-up calls to see just how far away from where I wanted to be I really was. And that was really frustrating to see just, it's expected, isn't it? After a year away from training, I really was just only doing easy runs. Of course, you're going to be struggling in hard workouts when it's been well over a year with 3 months off. But at the same time, it was a real wake-up call that I wasn't ready for, especially as I started to reach the point where I was starting to think about races that I wanted to do. But then there was something else in play at the time. I did get to about 45 miles a week. I was doing a workout and I was doing a long run of up to 13 miles was my longest. But as I mentioned, I started to get a bit carried away thinking about racing, thinking about kind of when I was going to get back, doing everything I said I wasn't going to do as I was pregnant. I started to do that and get carried away. Started getting some hip pain, had hip pain so bad one day that I had to walk 2 miles home from my workout. And I ended up having to take 2.5 weeks off. I have been documenting some of my training, some of my thoughts in like a journal on Strava. So if you're not following me on Strava, you can go find me there and find out what I wrote the day that happened. But yeah, I did take 2 weeks off, 2.5 weeks off, and I had to start back slowly. But the biggest thing that came out of that injury was I learned that I had to take my pelvic floor health seriously. Now, for those of you who are saying, "Yo, what? Seriously?" Because I kind of thought the same thing. When I first had Bailey, people kept talking to me about pelvic floor health, and I thought, what is this? I had an easy, if there is such a thing, an easy birth. I had a uncomplicated labor. It was very fast, no tearing, no real damage, and I thought I was fine. Wasn't having any issues with incontinence, wasn't having any pain. I recovered well, and I couldn't really understand why people kept saying this to me. I thought it was for people who had diastasis recti, which is where you get the separation in your abs, or people who, peed while they were running. I didn't have any of those issues, but this hip pain came about, and I did finally swallow my pride, go back to the pelvic floor therapist, who I had seen a few times in the spring, but I had stopped going when Steve's season got really busy, and I just couldn't emotionally handle it because it was really hard work and required a lot of concentration. So I went back to her with my tail between my legs, back to Cornerstone Pelvic Floor Health. Tracy Legrand is my pelvic floor therapist, if anyone is in Lexington. And I had to start again, and I am still going now. So that's how much work I had to do. And at the time I thought, as I mentioned, that it was only for people who had a lot of trouble. But actually I'm realizing now through research that every woman should be going to see a pelvic floor therapist after a baby. I'm going to say that again. Every woman should go see a pelvic floor therapist after having a baby. It really is something you need to get cleared. You need to get checked and make sure everything is okay. They have like a sensor that they put in to measure whether you're actually doing your pelvic exercises correctly, because the majority of people are not. I thought I was always doing it right, but I wasn't. And, it's taken me a lot of time to get the strength in my pelvic floor muscles and allow my body to bounce back. As I mentioned, I think that was what caused my injury. My glutes were taking the strain for the pelvic floor muscles. And since then, I've been feeling a lot better, a lot stronger. And honestly, guys, it has corrected things in my core that I have struggled with for as long as I can remember. And even if you haven't had a baby, if you're someone that struggles with, you might pee a little bit when you run hard, or your abs, you just feel like your core isn't quite right, go see a pelvic floor therapist. Even if it's just for peace of mind, they could well clear you that first day and say, you know what, just work on these few things at home and you'll be fine. But I really learned how important that was. So I just wanted to mention that to you guys. During that 2.5 weeks off, I took it completely off, started to cross train, but I realized I was just doing it for the sake of my ego. I wasn't doing it because I wanted to. I hated the swimming. I hated the biking. And so I just decided to take 2.5 weeks off, and I made peace with it, which was quite good. Now I am on my postpartum journey, round 2, as I call it, going by minutes, which is very interesting. It's a bit different, isn't it? Doing your training through minutes instead of miles. But I have to say, you guys, it is very refreshing to run through minutes, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm able to stop whenever my minutes are up, even if it is at 4.95. It really helps with my ego to kind of allow it to do that. And it's kind of nice towards the end of the week, not having any idea what my mileage is going to be. It just kind of is what it is. When I put it on Strava, or at the end of the week, I'll say, I ran this. So I am enjoying going by minutes. I'm doing all my workouts by minutes, and just as taking the pressure off. So if you are someone who is also returning to running after some time off or after an injury, I would maybe consider going by minutes. I might actually do a post on it in the future, so if you do want to try it. But basically, it just is, going by minutes. So there's not really shouldn't be too much explanation. You can kind of figure it out. It's pretty self-explanatory. I have started to do some workouts, not that many. I did jump in a 10K race with Bailey, but I did run the first 3 miles easy with a friend of mine, and then picked it up the final 3 miles. I think I averaged 6:50 for those final 3 miles, which was pretty cool doing it with the stroller, but I will admit it was slightly downhill. So that's obviously a big part of it as well. So yeah, on that note, I have been running with Bailey in the stroller. We wanted to wait until nearer the 6-month mark. I did run with her twice, I think once around 4 months and once around 5. But I got so paranoid about doing damage to her. And I know those recommendations from the stroller companies are probably way outdated and unnecessary. But for me, the idea of doing, even if it was a 1% chance that I was doing some damage to her, I just didn't want to take that risk. So I actually only started running with her when she was 5.5 months old. And she's always had such a strong neck. She's been able to stand on her, well, not on her own, she leans against things, but she's been able to stand leaning against things since about 5 months. She's been able to sit since about 5.5 months. So she's got the strong neck strength, but still I wanted to wait until that time. But I'm really enjoying running with her now. It's a lot more fun to know that we're doing it together, and it distracts you. It makes you not think about how bad you're feeling, or, things that we just tend to do as runners complain about. It's just more fun because you kind of are doing it with them. Sometimes they'll be happy. When I was doing that 10K, she was just squealing the whole way around, just loving being out there, which was fun. Sometimes she'll just sleep and I can just have some time to myself. But I'm just really enjoying those runs, although kind of limiting them, not doing it too often. One more thing. Now that I am breastfeeding, well, not now that I am breastfeeding, I've always been breastfeeding, but as I am breastfeeding, you do have to kind of play a game with feeding them and running, especially if you run in the morning. I find I have 3 options. I can either try and dart out the door, get back before she wakes up. I can pump and have Steve give it to her when she wakes up and then go. Or I can feed her and then go. But obviously with the summer, it can be tricky if you wait too long because it gets so hot out there. So I've been learning that and understanding it a little bit more. Just a few products that I will mention. The Chico TRE running stroller is the stroller that I'm using, loving it. The Lululemon Enlight bra and the Brooks, what's that one called? Juno bra are the two running bras I have been using in my postpartum running journey, I guess. Those are the major things that I've been using for running wise. And I know this is a running podcast. But on that note, I do actually have posts on my website at tinamuir.com with recommended products for various ages. I did a newborn one, I did a 2 to 3 months one, I did a 4 to 6 months one, and I'm going to do a 6-month one. So if you're looking for product ideas for friends or family or yourself, go to my website and you will be able to find those. Finally, back to my running, no goals or plans, which I think, as I mentioned, is part of the problem from last time. I think I did kind of look ahead and start thinking about races. I still would like to do a Disney race, and I thought I had them locked in to where they were going to bring me in, but it's been radio silence recently. So I'm not sure if Run Disney wants me there. I'm really hoping they do. I would still love that, the Run Disney weekend, the marathon weekend, to be my first race, a half marathon, not a marathon. So we will see if that actually happens. But right now I have no goals. I'm just going to kind of see what happens and see when I get into shape. Okay, just a few bad things. I did get a bit of frustration in probably about 3-4 months after having Bailey with not losing weight. Breastfeeding was making me feel so hungry all the time. So I was eating a lot, which is fine. You know, you need to your body is working really hard. But it was frustrating seeing other women who had babies after me and seeing them be back to their, pre-baby weight. And I was still kind of clinging onto this weight. I didn't weigh myself. It was only at checkups that I really saw it, but I could tell that I still had that weight, and it was frustrating. So I did produce a blog post on the 30th of July. So if you missed that one, I did have a note for mothers at the end there, but I've kind of about this whole thing, if that is something you're struggling with, but I've kind of come to peace right now with my weight, with where my body is at. I am, fueling my body to breastfeed, to give Bailey all the nutrition she needs. And I'm also looking after my body as best I can for my running. So if my weight ends up, if this is where my body wants to be, this is where my body wants to be. And there's more important things than worrying about the way I look in pictures. Chances are no one really notices anyway. So that was one thing. Did lose a lot of hair a few months, probably 4 or 5 months after having her. Every time I got in the shower, I swear I pulled out half of my hair, which was frustrating. And now the wispy bits are coming back. So I have been wearing a headband a lot to cover that up. But it's hard to see, so much of your hair disappearing. That is a very common thing that they say you don't lose many hairs in pregnancy. So it all kind of comes out afterwards, but wasn't easy to take. Did have mastitis, which for those of you who don't know is where you get a clogged duct in your breast tissue. Kind of one of the tubes that funnels down gets stuck, and it gives you flu-like symptoms. It makes you exhausted and just feel terrible. You get a really sore spot where the clog is, and I did have to take antibiotics, which I hate antibiotics. So that wasn't fun in any way. I do get mum guilt sometimes. Definitely feel like Bailey is my job sometimes. Like if Steve has her, like even right now, I sometimes feel guilty for him having her. Like it's my responsibility and I should be the one looking after her. And, I feel like I should apologize to him sometimes, or even other people. Or, once I dropped her off in the daycare at the YMCA, and I felt guilty for doing so. Like I shouldn't be leaving her. Like I'm kind of making her feel like she isn't wanted, which is not the case. And it's no reason to feel guilty. I'm learning that more and more, that mum guilt is just something women we tend to go through, maybe dads too. But, it's something that I'm learning to deal with. And for the most part, I'd say I've handled it pretty well. Steve had a lot of trips in the last few months of his work season, which was difficult. I did have up to 6 days in a row on my own at times, which was tough, having Bailey continuously for all that time. but she did do really well. And anytime he was gone like that, she slept well. She was a good girl for me. And I did have some great friends who came over and would relieve me so I could go for a run, or they would allow me, like Drew allowed me to take her down to my strength training and take her there in the car seat and would hold her while I did my strength training. So I do have some good friends who were there for me. So thank you so much. And Kimberly, who I believe listens to this podcast also, she came and brought me meals multiple times, as did Bev, if you are listening. So thank you. Okay, what else? Whenever I put Bailey down for a nap during the day, I feel like I turn into like this frantic nutcase who runs around the house trying to do 100 things within the short amount of time she'll be taking a nap, which is quite funny. It just feels like I go on turbo, but I feel like I'm very productive during that time, just something that can be stressful if they don't want to go down for a nap for very long. All right, just one more section. Bear with me here, you guys. Finally, how is business doing? How is running for real? That is the area of my life, to be honest with you, I am struggling with the most. I feel like I have essentially had to put pause on my business. I have managed to keep the podcast going. As you know, these podcasts have come out every Friday. I've not missed one, and I have planned ahead and managed to stay on top of it. Thank you to Jeremy as my editor for helping me with these. But I haven't really been able to develop things. I do have new ideas of things that I want to do. I just do not have the time. I sometimes feel like I'm drowning, that I'm just about managing to stay above water with my business. And that is frustrating. And I've kind of talked a lot about that in my weekly email, which for those of you who haven't done that yet, every Monday I do send out an email with a challenge for the week for you, with some thoughts about what I'm going through. And there's been a lot of buzz from the Running for Real Superstars community about that actually lately, that I've been kind of hitting the nail on the head with what other people are experiencing. So if you haven't subscribed, you can. It's just once a week email. Don't worry, you're not on a spam list. You're not going to get bombarded. It's just me sending once a week email with some updates on posts or podcasts you may have missed. And also just a thought for the week, something that you can work on. So you can sign up for that at tinamuir.com/subscriber. Okay, so as I mentioned, I have launched Tina for Real. That's just my daily podcast that I am doing. That is something I guess I have added, but it's not bringing in any income or revenue or anything like that. It's just something I'm kind of testing out. The episodes are very much like this, very real, very just being honest with things. So just trying it out. I'm going to go to 100 and see how I go. As you do know, if you listen to that podcast, the last 2 weeks I had guest posts. So I had guests come on and host those episodes for me. So I had a lot of friends do that. Many of these you will know yourself. So I hope you enjoyed those ones. I do sell t-shirts and hats. Total honesty with you guys, those have not done half as well as I thought. I'm not sure that was the right move for me to do that. I am so thankful for those of you who have purchased the hats, t-shirts and tank tops. They are really nice materials and really performance-based quality products, but they just haven't done as well. Maybe that is because I went for white shirts. But so far I have not made back my investment with those. So I'm really thankful and excited whenever I see anyone wearing them, but so far I'm not sure that was the right venture for me. I'm just being way too honest with you guys, but this is me. You know, I shouldn't tell you all this, but if you are a loyal listener and you are listening to this bonus episode, if you've made it this far, you are a loyal fan and I am so grateful for you, so I can be honest. I do still have my strength training programs on sale with Drew. You can get Drew as your personal trainer as well. He will make individualized training plan for you, or you'll get 4 of them actually within your 6 months, and then you get a 2-year membership. And you can find out more about that at tinamuir.com/runstrong. I do have marathon, half marathon, 5K and 10K plans on my website. If you are looking for a training plan from Steve, that is where you can find those. You can either just find them on my website at tinamuir.com. There is a work with me, or maybe it's shop. I can't remember the exact heading, but you should be able to find them pretty easily. And finally, as I mentioned, I'm thinking about creating some new products. I'd love to write a book, although I know that's more of a long-term thing. I'd love to make a journal, which is the one I probably will focus on. And I really want to set up a retreat eventually. So I am going to get that in the works. But as I mentioned right now, I just do not have the time to do these things. Okay, so just to wrap up here, wow, I cannot believe I've been talking for 45 minutes. This is crazy. I've never done one of these as long, but it's my birthday, right? So I'm not going to cry if I want to. Hopefully not crying today. But I can talk as long as I want to. And if you want to leave, you can leave. Finally, just to wrap up, remember you can enter my birthday week giveaway on Instagram at TinaMuir88. And you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/real Tina Muir. You can enter those giveaways, one every day, and I'll pick a winner the next day. If you could leave me an iTunes rating and review, that would be a wonderful birthday present for me. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who has tagged me and shared things and just given this podcast to your community. I'm so thankful for you. Thank you very much. I will see you Friday. Hope you have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Running for Real podcast. Be sure to check out tinamuir.com for show notes and even more helpful running information.